Sean Levy's he commented. He's the director of the new Deadpool 3 movie. He also did Free Guy, a bunch of other like Night at Museum stuff. He's now directing a Star Wars movie that's now confirmed. We don't know what it is or what the plot is or when it will come out, but apparently he was working on it before the writer's strike started. So, yeah, I think that's an interesting pick for a director. Like, I get he's a popular director, and they keep doing this. They keep throwing popular directors Star Wars movies, and then half the time they don't come out. But I don't know. How do you feel about I'll say this, and you can answer the second question after. But like, he's also being looked at possibly to direct Secret Wars. How do we feel about this? Like, more so comedy director directing these franchises that we want to be taken more seriously? Because I can't say I love the direction for either franchise.
Well, I think that if you go at it that way, if you look at it that way, then we would never have gotten Joker made, which was made by the guy who did the Hangover movies. And
Sure.
I think that directors are more than just their work, and you see it all the time with comedians who end up becoming great dramatic actors. I also think that to say that Deadpool and Deadpool 2 are mostly comedic would kind of downplay what those movies are, because I think that Deadpool 2 is an incredibly, although there's comedy in it, there's
more comedy in the first one.
Sure, but it's still an incredible story about this guy who's almost like a revenge story, and kind of like kind of like Princess Bride-esque, like going to get his wife. And come on, I think that those movies are incredibly.
I really like the first one. I can't say I like the second one as much as you do, but I think it's a good movie still.
I think that's your opinion. But I still think the second one is arguably better than the first one.
Wow.
It's a great. I don't know. I don't know if it is. I think there's a lot of people who really love the second one.
I would agree, but I feel like the first one, like I just feel like the second one gets a little messy at points. Like, the first one has a pretty tight knit story that's simple. He has to go save his girlfriend and fix himself, and but the second one is like, she's dead. He has to get to the afterlife, and the only way he can do that is by saying, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't love the plot as much as the first one for me, but that's just me.
But even in the opening scene, you have him having like a seemingly awesome, great, normal day, loving his relationship. Then she gets gunned down. It gets severely dark, and he ends up wanting to basically kill himself.
I'm not saying there's not dark moments, but I do think he has a lot of comedy throughout, like, all of his movies. And I would normally like back off like this stance on a director who's done like 3 movies, but this is like 15 years of work, like that he has mainly done this type of genre. And so like that just makes me think, like, the Star Wars movie will most likely have that kind of a feel. Secret Wars, I can't say will, if he directs that. But we'll see.
But I think Star Wars has always kind of had comedy mixed into it.
Sure.
And
I know for a lot of people, like, the best Star Wars of like to recent day is like Rogue One and Andor, and that is not that type of Star Wars at all.
Yeah, but I also would argue that there are people who miss there being like a good balance, whereas I feel like 9 went way too much into, like, there was darkness, but there was also like a lot of like things that were for like kids, I feel like, in 9.
Yeah, totally.
And Same thing with like Book of Boba Fett, like way too kiddie. But I think he's a great director. I mean, like, have you seen Free Guy? Like,
no, Free Guy was very good. Yeah.
And also, I think a good amount of that is also because Ryan Reynolds is at the center of most of the movies that we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm on board with it.
I'm not like doubting him. Like I'm not fully like writing him off. You know, as like he'll make a bad Star Wars movie or a bad Avengers movie. I just think it's an interesting choice, and I think like the Star Wars feels very like reactionary to him being a popular director right now.
I just don't know if it's gonna happen.
Sure, yeah, that one for, like more than the Lando movie. I don't know if that will happen or not.
And if he's doing Secret Wars, I mean, I'm on board. I think because like also Joe and Anthony Russo, what were they doing? You know, before Winter Soldier, they were doing like Community
I don't
episodes.
Even know their discography. Yeah,
they were doing
or not filmography. I mean,
they were doing like I think they were doing like Clone High, or maybe Clone High was the guys who did the Spider-Verse movies. But
the Spider-Verse, yeah.
But like Joe and Anthony Russo were like doing a lot of like Community episodes and stuff that was like more like sitcom comedy sort of TV things, and then they get the chance to make Winter Soldier, and then we're at Endgame, and so like I don't know, like I think.
But yeah, that's why I said I would back off that stance if it was like a newer director like that, right?
If they were like, we want but at the same time, like that same thing happened with Taika Waititi, which I know what you have your thoughts about Taika Waititi, but he still did make Thor Ragnarok, and that is a great movie, and that was. But as a director, he directed the hell out of that movie, and it works super well. Yes, so he's a good director for that. Yep. And I'm trying to think of. I feel like there's been a few other instances of like James Gunn with Guardians.
Yeah.
What had he really done before?
He had like 1 or 2 movies, I think, beforehand.
And they were
I can't even really name them.
They were Super. You had Super, and you had Slither.
Yes.
And
he wrote the Scooby-Doo movies.
Exactly. Yep. And now he's the head of DC Studios.
Yep.
So I think that I say bring it on.
Sure. No, challenge Sean Levy, and we'll see how it goes. And but I'm gonna place a bet now that we don't see Sean Levy direct a Star Wars movie. And he'll only direct Secret Wars if like Deadpool 3 is like an amazingly successful film, which I think it will be. I don't doubt that. So
I find it hard to believe that movie is not successful.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.